All right, well, we are live. Welcome to another episode of Beyond ERP. I'm your host, Louis Balla, and today we're diving into the world of ERP, specifically focusing on the capabilities that go beyond what a general NetSuite solution offers. Joining us is Managing Director and President of Promethean Consulting, Gerry Villamil. Gerry is an accomplished professional in business consulting and ERP, currently serves as the Managing Director at Promethean Analytics. His career has been defined by a dedication to excellence, marked by a focus on delivering innovative solutions to intricate business challenges. Gerry, we certainly appreciate you joining us today. I'm joined by my co-host, Gina Strowski. Let's dive in.
Okay. Hi, Gerry. Glad you're with us.
It's a pleasure. Looking forward to this.
Okay, good. Why don't we start by telling the audience a little bit about your journey and in how you became president at Promethean.
Okay. Journey started approximately 31 years back when I joined a small company called Arbor Software. They were a fledgling startup. For those that are not aware, Arbor was the original creator of the multidimensional technology that sits underneath NetSuite planning and budgeting. And it actually makes it the standout product in the industry because of that technology. I was hired primarily as a financial analyst supporting their financial customers. It was originally a financial reporting tool initially. And then very quickly got moved into pre-sales, and I was selling the solution for a few years. But it got to a point where the challenge for just doing pre-sales the challenge wasn't there, and I wanted to actually get into the consulting side. So kind of put together solutions for customers, go in and see if we can take customers that were on existing planning tools or homegrown tools and move them into the technology that is known as planning and budgeting, or Oracle planning and budgeting. And from that point, I've been consulting on the tool set for, I'd probably say, out of my 31 years, maybe 20 years has been related to post-sales consulting.
Gerry, a lot of the initiatives, a lot of the work we've done together, you all, seems like at the core of Promethean is largely taking planning and budgeting to the next mile. Can you share with us on some initiatives, something, or a couple of examples you're proud of that have really driven planning and budgeting kind of to that next, the Ferrari version of what it can do?
Yeah, absolutely. Our organization was the organization that actually trained NetSuite on NetSuite planning and budgeting. So when we first came into the fold with NetSuite, they were looking to put together a suite success model or models that help replace what their original solution was prior to being acquired by Oracle. One of the things that NetSuite does, and they're very good at it, is putting a solution together that is a little vanilla, easy to implement, doesn't have a lot of the bells and whistles, but for their original typical base. And if you actually look at where NetSuite started and where they're at now, their original base were customers that really didn't have a concept of planning and forecasting. They were new to the field. They were doing a lot of their planning and forecasting in spreadsheets. But if you actually look at their customer base now, their customer base is a lot more informed in the planning process, a little bit more mature. And a vanilla product just doesn't quite cut it for those customers. So what we wanted to do, and what we actually originally told NetSuite was, listen, you want to take advantage of all the bells and whistles that come with the tool set. I mean, AI learning, machine learning, predictive planning, etc. And you're not incorporating any of that in the application. And they just felt that it was just going to be too complicated for the customer. We don't believe that. We actually have customers that are pushing us to add more feature and functionality that are above and beyond what we originally had. So I think that that's what kind of puts us apart or sets us apart. NetSuite at times calls us in when their solution is just too vanilla, and they want to bring in a partner that has worked with the technology and can actually enhance and incorporate all the features and functionality that their customers are looking for.
And in that vein, could you maybe share some of the initiatives, some of the accelerators that you all have put together that sit nicely on top of planning and budgeting core?
Sure. I mean, our solution leverages the latest features that come out of Oracle. As I mentioned, machine learning, predictive planning, what-if modeling, all that is actually contained within our tool set. In addition to that, we offer a fully featured planning and reporting application. One that is more, we have several, what we refer to as accelerators, that are tailored to primarily financial customers that will have out of the box full workforce planning, financial planning, project-based planning. In addition to that, for our supply chain customers, they get the full supply chain suite that includes demand, supply, merchandising, merchandise planning, etc. And all the accelerators that we deliver all incorporate the latest features, specifically around predictive planning, AI learning, machine learning, etc.
Awesome.
Neat. And then for like our customers and prospects, when should they consider reaching out specifically to our unique partnership? I know we've brought you some leads and some references, et cetera, and we enjoy our relationship together, but maybe you could expand on that a little bit.
And we enjoy the relationship as well. It's been a very great partnership, being able to introduce planning and budgeting to your customers. From an introduction perspective, the best way to, or the best approach is to actually bring us in earlier, not later. So the reason for that is if you're implementing a solution or with the ERP, at times by introducing us early, we'll be able to give you some guidance on specific fields that you want to add in, specific understanding of what you want to plan and budget for, and that will help guide your ERP implementation as well. So at times we'll actually be right there in the early stages of the build process, even the design process, just to make sure that are there any ideas or recommendations from the customer that we can help guide that planning process for not only Nuage, but for the customer as well.
Yeah, and by getting in early. Oh, go ahead.
I was going to say, in that vein, I think there's a perception of, well, NetSuite has a budget versus actual that should basically check the box. Budget versus actual report that should check the box for FP&A. To kind of the early adopters who are now becoming a little bit more mature, maybe you're starting to bring in some of those FP&A resources. At what point, if they're already on NetSuite, would you say is the tipping point where they really need to consider planning and budgeting?
I think that you'll find out that tipping point actually occurs very early in their NetSuite ERP journey. So we find out very quickly that customers find out very quickly that the budgeting component or module within the ERP is extremely vanilla. They don't have the ability to do any of the pivoting and reporting capabilities that they need. It doesn't give you the ability out of the box to do easy allocations, be able to drive complex business logic. You're basically, it's a straight direct input. You're taking a form, inputting your budget. It's a collection tool at best. Mm-hmm. Okay.
And kind of, from our long tenure of previously before planning and budgeting, working a lot with Adaptive and that whole relationship of just, FP&A tools popping up everywhere. And I think that's kind of slowed down a little bit from my perception. But where would you say you're seeing just market trends going right now? Can you speak on behalf of kind of FP&A and NetSuite's planning and budgeting and what you're seeing and what's piquing your interest?
Yeah, so I mentioned it earlier, but I'll mention it again. Machine learning and predictive planning is what's driving everything moving forward. The ability within the tool to quickly ascertain if the plan that you've inputted into the system is following historical trend lines, trying to understand if there's anomalies or spikes that make no sense from a planning or budgeting perspective. the system out of the box gives you the ability to very quickly determine if your plan or forecast is on point, not only for your current year or the next year, but years down the road. So it's a game changer. What Oracle has incorporated with their predictive planning and AI learning, very few competitors out there have that built into the tool. It actually requires a lot of massive customization to incorporate that in there.
And can you maybe speak a little bit more to that and kind of how that differentiates, what it actually, what that means to the general audience?
Yeah, so I'll use a customer as an example. So one of our clients, who, as part of the early selling process, they didn't quite believe in the predictive planning module that comes out of Oracle / NetSuite and planning and budgeting. So we actually went in and did a very quick proof of concept where we pulled their actuals, brought in their plan and forecast, and then did a predictive analysis of their existing plan, and it showed massive spikes. At times, you saw for some product lines, some sales channels, that everything was in line. It fell within the standard deviation for a valid plan or forecast. But there were some that were literally 30, 40, 50 points off of standard deviation. So you can actually see it graphically. It shows exactly over time based upon historical trends. Now, one of the things that obviously for predictive planning to work, it requires that we bring historical data in. So for some clients, at times they tend to go within the ERP implementation to just bring in maybe 6 months or just a trial balance, and they just start off with no data in the system. And we recommend that they actually sit down with their implementer, Nuage, to determine how much data makes sense to bring into the system. The more data, the better the prediction. So that's what we've noticed that with a number of our clients, that they're really finding out, especially on the supply chain side. AI learning and predictive planning is huge for them. I don't think that we'd be able to sell our solution without that.
Wow. And maybe you could tell us a little bit about some of the ROIs that could come out of it for our audience in working with y'all with the planning budget.
Yeah, so well, first things first, let's actually go into a typical implementation timeline. From start to finish, you can actually get full NetSuite planning and budgeting implemented within 6 to 8 weeks. So obviously that assumes that it's laying down our accelerator. There aren't any major enhancements or configuration changes to it. But for the typical client, 6 to 8 weeks, you have a solution that immediately gives you the ability to not only bring your actuals into the reporting solution, but allows you to do all your planning and budgeting in it. So we've had clients that have made massive savings in their planning and budgeting process just because of the ability to collaborate with their other planners within a single system. They're not basically trading templates, spreadsheets via email. Their planning and budgeting process can now go from weeks to months to potentially days to weeks. Okay, so it all depends in regards to the client. From our perspective, from an ROI perspective, there's a massive ROI a savings just by implementing the solution, and not only in the first year, but subsequent years down the road.
Fantastic. We want to thank you, Gerry, for sharing your insights and really providing us a unique perspective, and our listeners a unique perspective as to why they should be considering all things FP&A with a tool like planning and budgeting and the Promethean group. We do like to give our guests kind of the last word. Anything you'd like to add before we wrap up today? No,
I think it's been an absolute pleasure sitting down with you and just talking planning and budgeting. It's been a subject for me that has been near and dear to my heart for the last 30-some years. So I'm looking forward to having your customers kind of take advantage of it. I think they'll be very happy.
Well, thank you. And for businesses seeking innovative strategies, for our listeners, remember, you don't have to do it alone. We at Nuage specialize in guiding you through that transformation optimization. Again, I appreciate your time today, Gerry, and we will talk to you soon. Thank you on behalf of Gina and myself. Thank you, everybody. Have a great day.
You take care. Thank you.